Good Monday evening. Welcome to Midwest Sports Net as we are going beyond the five and talking about the top five performances in the NAIA in football for Week 8. Hi, I'm Joey McWilliams. Glad that you are watching this. It's a live stream. Maybe you're watching the replay. Thanks for tuning in to this tonight. And listen, we enjoy talking about small college sports and more throughout the Midwest and beyond. So let's get right into some NAIA football. Week 8 action. We had Midwest Sports Saturday on location at Langston University on Saturday. We'll talk about that just a little bit more. Very, very incredibly exciting game between Ottawa of Arizona and Langston, an overtime game to boot on homecoming. So we had a lot of fun up there. We'll see where we're going to be in upcoming weeks. In the meantime, let's not start with the top five. Let's go beyond the five first. Then we will get to those top five performances. Other performances, though, that weren't mentioned for Week 8. How about the Bethel defense? Bethel, the Threshers, getting things back on the right track. A 51-7 victory over Sterling. They had a safety. Oh, and Trey Palmer had two interceptions. One of those a pick six from 26 yards out. Devontae Packard with a fumble recovery for a touchdown from 40 yards out. So we have the pick six. You have the scoop and score. You got a lot of defense from Bethel. Not only that, they put some points on the board as well. 51 of those. Bethel has just one loss on the season, and the KCAC is a very tight race. We're going to talk a little bit more about playoff possibilities a little bit later this week also, so please tune in for that. Garrett Kettle, the Benedictine Ravens. I don't think I gave Benedictine enough credit at the start of the season. The Ravens have really done well. Again, just one loss on the season. 45-24, the Benedictine Ravens with the win over Missouri Valley. Garrett Kettle, 19 for 38 passing, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He also had 5 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown as well. So Kettle for Benedictine putting together a solid performance on Saturday. Let's go over to St. Xavier. Stuart Ross, the quarterback, 18 for 31, 249 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks as well. St. Xavier 35, Trinity International just 6. And St. Xavier also had some pretty good performances from Justin Pringle, who had 8 catches for 190 yards and was the recipient of all 3 of Ross's touchdown passes. Ron Carroll with 2, not 1, but 2 pick sixes on the day from 73 yards and 6 yards out. He had 6 tackles and 1 pass breakup as well. Iowa Wesleyan, the Tigers, victors, 49-22 over presentation. Gavin Esquivel, 23 for 43 passing, 437 yards, 5 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. Jaden Harris caught 7 of those passes, 3 of the touchdowns went to him, 106 yards receiving for Harris on the day. Moving over to Peru State. Peru State and William Penn, 29-27, the Bobcats with the victory over the Statesmen in this one. An interesting game. There were 3 safeties in this game. So we're talking about some Peru State defense right here. Let's go ahead and give some props to Devin Adams in particular, a late safety in the fourth quarter. Adams had 5 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, got credit for half a sack as well. But late in the game, it's tied, 27 all. Devin Adams also gets some work in as the punter. Fantastic punt. It is downed at the 1-yard line for William Penn. And then Peru State gets the safety. Devin Adams in on that as well. He shared credit with Khalil Parker, and it is a 2-point win. Credit the safety there for Peru State. Bobcats again, 29-27 victors over the Statesmen. Over to the Sooner Athletic Conference and a team that's, well, it's in its farewell tour in the Sooner Athletic Conference, Arizona Christian and Tyler Duncan. Arizona Christian, the Firestorm, 81-19. Winners over Texas College in this one. 100 points even scored in this. Now, Duncan was 4 for 11 passing for 79 yards, had 1 touchdown pass, also had 7 carries for 63 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground for Duncan as well. Lots of scoring on the day, but the backups got in as well. So Duncan out after a little while, still able to put up 142 yards of total offense and 4 touchdowns on the day. That in early going. Arizona Christian running away with this one. Marion, as the Knights get the victory over the Cardinals. Marion and Concordia, 24-7. The Knights get the win. This was a game that at the start of the year looked like it might be one for the Mid-States East Division title. Instead, these two teams playing, both of them have fallen to Indiana Wesleyan. We'll get to Indiana Wesleyan in just a moment. Marion's still fighting for a playoff spot, and it could very well happen. But the Knights need to keep on winning. They're doing it behind Zach Bundelow, 17 for 24 passing, 251 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And both of his touchdown passes were to Ben Stevens, who had 10 catches on the day for 153 yards. Again, Marion 24-7 over Concordia. Xander Stokes, I was talking about Indiana Wesleyan. This is one of my 2 dark horse teams to make the playoffs. And, well, you know what? The Wildcats are putting themselves in a position to make the playoffs. Got through the last, at least on paper, past the last big hurdle on the schedule, 44-0 over St. Francis from Indiana. Big win for Indiana Wesleyan. Xander Stokes, 20 for 27 passing, 224 yards, 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions. Daniel Weems on the ground, 12 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Also had 4 receptions for 21 yards and a touchdown. And Jacquez Carter, 8 receptions, 117 yards on the day. So Indiana Wesleyan cruising. We'll talk more about playoff possibilities a little bit later on in the week here on Midwest Sports Net's YouTube channel, which, by the way, please take the time, like this video, share the video if you will, and subscribe to the channel as we're pushing toward 1,200 subscribers. I know it's not as big a number as some of the big names out there, but we're growing, and we appreciate your help. We love talking small college sports here on the channel, so help us get to the next milestone, if you will. Also, beyond the 5, St. Thomas continues to win, and a big victory over Ave Maria. 55-33 over the Gyrenes. The Bobcats get a couple of big days from their running backs. Rontavious Farmer, 26 carries, 195 yards, 1 touchdown. Damian Heller, 21 carries, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. And the St. Thomas Bobcats, again, victorious on Saturday. A couple more here as we continue beyond the 5. DJ McGarvey from Concordia, quarterback, a monstrous day. Unfortunately, the Bulldogs came up a point short in this one, falling to Dordt 29-28. But McGarvey, 34 for 67 passing, 458 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, had 8 carries on the day for 26 yards as well. So accounted for 484 yards of total offense on the day. Congratulations to McGarvey on that one. But again, the Bulldogs, after winning 3 consecutive games, come up short in this one. And one more team, that hasn't come up short this year, that is the Bethel Wildcats. A top 5 team, Bethel continuing to roll 57-7 over Thomas More on Saturday. I thought that might be a little bit closer game. Wildcats said no. Joaquin Collazo, 17 for 25 passing, 368 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a couple of his receivers. Davius Prather, 4 receptions, 132 yards, and a touchdown. Avant Burris, 3 receptions, 131 yards, and 2 touchdowns as well. So a big day for Bethel once again as the Wildcats continue to roll, putting themselves in a good position for the playoffs. Let's go ahead then and bring out the graphic for this evening's broadcast. And I think there we go. So you can take a look at the top 5 performances. I want to say thanks, by the way, to Elite Medical Billing Specialists, as they were the presenting sponsor for Midwest Sports Saturday this week as we went up to Langston, and we really appreciate the folks there. Elite Medical Billing Specialists, keep that in mind. Link will be in the description at the bottom, but we do appreciate them as being a sponsor. Let's talk about the top 5 performances now. We start with Langston, and that's where we were on Saturday. An absolutely incredible game. I've lost a little bit of the sunburn now. I was really red. If you check out any of the videos from Saturday on our channel, Midwest Sports Net, you can see that the sun was out in full force and my head was just very, very red. But the wind was blowing across the Oklahoma Central Plains, and I have to tell you, it kept me cool till I realized later on, oh my goodness, I have a sunburn. Huge day. Homecoming, band performance, really long band performance, as a matter of fact. They had to put more time on the clock at halftime more than once because of the performance, but it was a great performance by the band, but an equally good performance by both teams on the field as Ottawa of Arizona got off to a 21-0 lead over the home Lions. That was in the first quarter alone. Langston comes back, gets to 21-10. At the half, it was a 14-point advantage for the Spirit, 31-17. Langston kept fighting back as it was back and forth in the third quarter. Langston got a touchdown. Ottawa responds 38-24 going into the final stanza, and Langston fought through, stopped, got the ball back, touchdown. Another stop, get the ball back, touchdown. Tied up 38 apiece. Langston had an opportunity and the closing seconds to win the game in that north end zone, as it was a huge south wind coming in. You definitely wanted to be going to the north end zone. That's where most of the scoring took place all day long. Anyway, 38 apiece, an opportunity for a field goal, and Ottawa called timeout. Coach Nesbitt used all three of his timeouts right there, back to back. It did the job. Ice the kicker. We go to overtime, and OUAZ gets the ball first, driving down the field, getting to within the 5. The ball is stripped, bounces around, looked like it was going to be an Ottawa player to get it, looked like it's going to be a Langston player to get it. Finally, Xavion Florence comes away with the pickup, scooped it, and took it 93 yards to the other end. A touchdown for the Langston Lions, and they win 44-38. Xavion Florence, one of our top 5 performances. He had 4 tackles on the day, 1 pass breakup, and of course the 93-yard touchdown return, the scoop and score in overtime, giving Langston the victory. Oh, Larry Harrington. Did I mention Larry Harrington? Let me do that now. The quarterback was 24 for 41 passing, 385 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Harrington also had 18 carries on the day, 61 yards, had a touchdown on the ground as well. Harrington responsible for 5 touchdowns on the day, 442 yards of total offense on the day for Langston. And the Lions are now in the driver's seat in the Sooner Athletic Conference, coming off a loss last week at Texas Wesleyan. Well, they get back in that driver's seat with the victory over OUAZ. And now, as it was last year, it's Langston's playoff spot to control. Last year, the Lions gave up losses in their final 3 games, and OUAZ took over that playoff spot. Let's see what happens this year. Number 1. Number 2, let's go to St. Francis now. Sam Tumilty, St. Francis quarterback, 11 for 23 passing, 135 yards through the air, and a touchdown, no interceptions. Not bad, but he did his work on the ground. 26 carries for Tumilty, 197 yards, and 4 touchdowns on the day. St. Francis rolls over St. Ambrose. Tumilty responsible for all 5 touchdowns there. 34-10, the final score over the Fighting Bees, and St. Francis of Illinois with the big win. Moving on along, and I don't know if we're required to talk about Morningside each and every week, but you know what? We find a way to do it. The Mustangs are still undefeated, and it was a big day. Joe Dolenchek doing Joe Dolenchek things. Day at the office there for him. 21 of 27 through the air. That was Dolenchek. 346 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he got some help from his friends. Austin Johnson, one of his favorite receivers this year, 7 receptions, 195 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 of those 4 touchdown passes that came from Dolenchek, I believe. Ryan Cole on the ground, 12 carries, 118 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns for Cole on the day. And let's talk a little bit of defense, just a little bit of defense. How about Dejion Wells? 2 interceptions, 1 of those for a pick 6 from 28 yards out. And yes, Frank chiming in tonight. Got to see a lot of new players after the half. The future looks strong for the Mustangs. Well, you know, it looks like it was a big day, and why not? 77-0 over Mountain Marty. And just like a couple of other teams, we mentioned this now. You get your fresh players in, maybe some players haven't seen as much time, and some new players in, giving them an opportunity to get some real experience on a team like Morningside. Definitely, I imagine the future does, in fact, look bright. Morningside, again, 77-0. Dolenchek, Johnson, Cole, Walls, and the rest of the Mustangs continue to roll through the regular season. Look for them in the playoffs. Again, we will be talking about some playoff possibilities a little bit later on this week here on the channel. Please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. We move on to Pikeville. This is a new team to our top 5 this year. We haven't talked about the Bears in the top 5 yet. Let's do it now. Xavier Malone leading the Pikeville Bears on a day in which offense seemed to be optional. Pikeville, 66. Campbellsville, 107 points between the two teams. Malone, 17 for 25 passing, 417 yards through the air, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. Had a couple of good receivers on the day as well. Derek Griffith, 5 receptions, 141 yards, and 2 touchdown catches. Cameron Brown had 2 receptions on the day. Hey, both of them for touchdowns. 101 yards receiving for Brown as well. Pikeville looking good over Campbellsville, 66 points on the board, and they come away with the win. And finally, for our broadcast tonight, we go back to Southwestern Assemblies of God. We were in Waxahachie a few weeks ago, and it was nice to be down there. I actually got a sunburn down there as well. I don't know what it is. Some of these places, and when the wind's blowing like that, it doesn't feel like it's getting that hot. But it was a bright and sunny day back in September when we were in Waxahachie. Dudick had a decent day. Dudick had a better day on Saturday. 31-6, the Lions over Lion in this one. Sagu over Lion, the Scotts Fall. And it was a big day for Keaton Dudick. 33 carries. Took the bulk of the offense himself for 306 yards on the ground. 2 touchdowns for Keaton Dudick. We mentioned him from the outset that he was going to be one of those players to watch from the running back position, one of the top returnees coming back in the NAIA, and he has had a couple of stellar days. This is one of those, and I believe that this is the top rushing performance in the NAIA this season. 33 rushes, 306 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. Oh, he also had a couple of catches as well. 2 receptions, 28 yards. One of those catches was for a touchdown too. So Keaton Dudick with a big day for Sagu, and the Lions pick up another win. So to wrap it up here, Langston, St. Francis, Morningside, Pikeville, Sagu, all of them getting great performances. Harrington, Florence, Tamilty, Dalenchek, Johnson, Cole, Walls, Malone, Griffith, Brown, and Dudick. Love mentioning all those names. And we love talking about small college sports right here. So I encourage you, please take the time. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It really does help. It makes a difference. Again, thanks to Elite Medical Billing Specialists, our sponsor on Saturday. We want to mention them again. Friends of the channel, friends of this program as well. So we'll be talking a little bit more about the NAIA football playoffs coming up this week. We will be in Hot Springs, Arkansas on Saturday, and we want to give you some coverage from there as well. So that's where Midwest Sports Saturday will be on Saturday. And then we may be able to get some volleyball talk in as well. So that is our broadcast for the night. Thanks again for watching. Watched all the way through this broadcast. I really appreciate this. And if you are watching the replay right now and you're still watching at this point, my goodness, you're a trooper. Thanks a lot. We appreciate you as well. Thanks again for watching. God bless you all, and have a great night.